Indian Railways is an Indian state-owned enterprise, owned and operated by the Government of India through the Ministry of Railways. It is one of the world's largest railway networks, comprising 115,000 km of track over a route of 65,000 km and 7,500 stations. In 2011, IR carried over 8,900 million passengers annually, or more than 24 million passengers daily, and 2.8 million tons of freight daily. In 2011 Euro 2012 Indian Railways had revenues of 1,119,848.9 million, which consists of 696,759.7 million from freight and 286,455.2 million from passengers' tickets. Railways were first introduced to India in 1853 from Bombay to Thane. In 1951 the systems were nationalised as one unit, the Indian Railways, becoming one of the largest networks in the world. IR operates both long-distance and suburban rail systems on a multi-gauge network of broad, metre and narrow gauges. It also owns locomotive and coach production facilities at several places in India and are assigned codes identifying their gauge, kind of power and type of operation. Its operations cover 29 states and 7 union territories, and also provides limited international services to Nepal, Bangladesh and Pakistan. Indian Railways is the world's 9th largest commercial or utility employer, by number of employees, with over 1.4 million employees. As for rolling stock, IR holds over 239,281 freight wagons, 59,713 passenger coaches and 9,549 locomotives. The trains have a 5-digit numbering system, as the Indian Railways runs about 10,000 trains daily. As of March 31, 2013, 23,541 km of the total 65,000 km route length was electrified. Since 1960, almost all electrified sections on IR use 25,000-volt AC traction through overhead catenary delivery. On April 23, 2014, Indian Railways introduced a mobile app system to track train schedules. History. The history of rail transport in India began in the mid-19th century. The core of the pressure for building railways in India came from London. In 1848, there was not a single kilometre of railway line in India. A British engineer, Robert Maitland Brereton, was responsible for the expansion of the railways from 1857 onwards. The Allahabad-Jabalpur branch line of the East Indian Railway had been opened in June 1867. Brereton was responsible for linking this with the Great Indian Peninsular Railway, resulting in a combined network of 6,400 km. Hence it became possible to travel directly from Bombay to Calcutta. This route was officially opened on March 7, 1870, and it was part of the inspiration for French writer Jules Verne's book Around the World in 80 Days. At the opening ceremony, the Viceroy Lord Mayo concluded that it was thought desirable that, if possible, at the earliest possible moment, the whole country should be covered with a network of lines in a uniform systema Euro. By 1875, about £95 million were invested by British companies in India guaranteed railways. By 1880 the network had a route mileage of about 14,500 km, mostly radiating inward from the 3 major port cities of Bombay, Madras and Calcutta. By 1895, India has started building its own locomotives, and in 1896, sent engineers and locomotives to help build the Uganda railways. In 1900, the GIPR became a government-owned company. The network spread to the modern-day states of Assam Kingdom, Rajasthan and Madras Presidency, and soon various autonomous kingdoms began to have their own rail systems. In 1905, an early railway board was constituted, but the powers were formally vested under Lords Curzon. It served under the Department of Commerce and Industry and had a government railway official serving as chairman, and a railway manager from England and an agent of one of the company railways as the other 2 members. For the first time in its history, the railways began to make a profit. In 1907 almost all the rail companies were taken over by the government. The following year, the first electric locomotive made its appearance. With the arrival of World War I, the railways were used to meet the needs of the British outside India. With the end of the war, the railways were in a state of disrepair and collapse. In 1920, with the network having expanded to 61,220 km, a need for central management was mooted by Sir William Ackworth. Based on the East India Railway Committee chaired by Ackworth, the government took over the management of the railways and detached the finances of the railways from other governmental revenues. The period between 1920 and 1929 was a period of economic boom. There were 41,000 mi of railway lines serving the country. The railways represented a capital value of some 687 million sterling. And they carried over 620 million passengers and approximately 90 million tons of goods each year. Following the Great Depression, the railways suffered economically for the next 8 years. The Second World War severely crippled the railways. Starting 1939, about 40% of the rolling stock including locomotives and coaches was taken to the Middle East. The railways' workshops were converted to ammunitions workshops and many railway tracks were dismantled to help the Allies in the war. By 1946, all rail systems had been taken over by the government. Organizational structure. Railway zones. Indian Railways is divided into several zones, which are further subdivided into divisions. The number of zones in Indian Railways increased from 6 to 8 in 1951. 9 in 1952 and 16 in 2003 and now 17. Each zonal railway is made up of a certain number of divisions, each having a divisional headquarters. There are a total of 68 divisions. Each of the 17 zones is headed by a general manager who reports directly to the Railway Board. The zones are further divided into divisions under the control of divisional railway managers. The divisional officers of engineering, mechanical, electrical, signal and telecommunication, accounts, personnel, operating, commercial, security and safety branches report to the respective divisional manager and are in charge of operation and maintenance of assets. Further down the hierarchy tree are the station masters who control individual stations and the train movement through the track territory under their station's administration. Zonal railway details. Recruitment and training. Staff are classified into gazetted and non-gazetted employees. The recruitment of Group A gazetted employees is carried out by the Union Public Service Commission through exams conducted by it. The recruitment to Group C and D employees on the Indian Railways is done through 20 railway recruitment boards and railway recruitment cells which are controlled by the Railway Recruitment Control Board. The training of all cadres is entrusted and shared between 6 centralized training institutes. Production units. Indian Railways manufactures much of its rolling stock and heavy engineering components at its 6 manufacturing plants, called production units, which are managed directly by the ministry. Popular rolling stock builders such as CLW and DLW for electric and diesel locomotives. ICF and RCF for passenger coaches are production units of Indian Railways. Over the years, Indian Railways has not only achieved self-sufficiency in production of rolling stock in the country but also exported rolling stock to other countries. Each of these production units is headed by a general manager, who also reports directly to the Railway Board. The production units are other subsidiaries. There also exist independent organizations under the control of the Railway Board for electrification, modernization, research and design and training of officers, each of which is headed by an officer of the rank of General Manager. A number of public sector undertakings, which perform railway-related functions ranging from consultancy to ticketing, are also under the administrative control of the Ministry of Railways. There are 14 public undertakings under the administrative control of the Ministry of Railways, viz. Paradwagon and Engineering Company Limited. Centre for Railway Information Systems, Container Corporation of India Limited, Dedicated Freight Corridor Corporation of India Limited, Indian Railway Catering and Tourism Corporation Limited, Indian Railway Construction International Limited, Indian Railway Finance Corporation Limited, Konkan Railway Corporation Limited, Mumbai Railway Vikas Corporation, Railtel Corporation of India Limited, Rail India Technical and Economic Services Limited, Rail Vikas Nigam Limited, High Speed Rail Corporation of India. Burn Standard and Company Limited, Braithwaite and Company Limited, Delhi Metro Rail Corporation Limited, that has constructed and operates Delhi Metro Network, is an independent organisation not connected to the Indian Railways. Similar metro rail corporations in other cities are not connected to the Indian Railways. Rolling stock, locomotives. Locomotives in India consist of electric and diesel locomotives. Biodiesel locomotives are also being used on experimental basis. Steam locomotives are no longer used, except in heritage trains. In India, locomotives are classified according to their track gauge, motive power, the work they are suited for, and their power or model number. The class name includes this information about the locomotive. It comprises 4 or 5 letters. The first letter denotes the track gauge. The second letter denotes their motive power, and the third letter denotes the kind of traffic for which they are suited. The fourth letter used to denote locomotive's chronological model number. However, from 2002 a new classification scheme has been adopted. Under this system, for newer diesel locomotives, the fourth letter will denote their horsepower range. Electric locomotives don't come under this scheme, and even all diesel locos are not covered. For them this letter denotes their model number as usual. A locomotive may sometimes have a fifth letter in its name, which generally denotes a technical variant or subclass or subtype. This fifth letter indicates some smaller variation in the basic model or series, perhaps different motors, or a different manufacturer. With the new scheme for classifying diesel locomotives, the fifth item is a letter that further refines the horsepower indication in 100 HP increments, A for 100 HP, B for 200 HP, C for 300 HP, etc. So in this scheme, a WDM3A refers to a 3100 HP loco, while a WDM3D would be a 3400 HP loco and WDM3F would be 3600 HP loco. Note: this classification system does not apply to steam locomotives in India, as they have become non-functional now. They retained their original class names such as M-class or WP class. Diesel locomotives are now fitted with auxiliary power units, which saves nearly 88% of fuel during the idle time when train is not running. Goods wagons or freight cars. The number of freight car or goods wagons was 205,596 on March 31, 1951, and reached the maximum number 405,183 on March 31, 1980, after which it started declining and was 239,321 on March 31, 2012. The number is far less than the requirement, and the Indian Railways keeps losing freight traffic to road. Indian Railways carried 93 million tons of goods in 1950, euro 51, and it increased to 10 million tons in 2012, euro 13. However, its share in goods traffic is much lower than road traffic. In 1951, its share was 65% and the share of road was 35%. Now the shares have been reversed and the share of railways has declined to 30% and the share of road has increased to 70%. Passenger coaches. Indian Railways has several types of passenger coaches. Electric multiple unit coaches are used for suburban traffic in large cities, mainly Mumbai, Chennai, Delhi, Kolkata, Pune, Hyderabad and Bangalore. These coaches numbered 7,793 on March 31, 2012. They have second-class and first-class seating accommodation. Passenger coaches numbered 46,722 on March 31, 2012. Other coaches numbered 6,560 on March 31, 2012. Freight. Indian Railways earns about 70% of its revenues from freight traffic. Most of its profits come from transporting freight, and this makes up for losses on passenger traffic. It deliberately keeps its passenger fares low and cross-subsidizes the loss-making passenger traffic with a profit-making freight traffic. Since the 1990s, Indian Railways has stopped single-wagon consignments and provides only full-rake freight trains. Wagon types include BOXNHL, BOBYN, technical details, track and gauge, Indian Railways uses 4 gauges, the 1676 mm broad gauge, which is wider than the 1435 mm standard gauge, the 1000 mm metre gauge, and 2 narrow gauges, 762 mm and 610 mm. Track sections are rated for speeds ranging from 75 to 160 km/h. The total length of track used by Indian Railways is about 115,000 km, while the total route length of the network is 65,000 km. About 23,541 km or 36% of the route kilometre was electrified as on March 31, 2013. Broad gauge is the predominant gauge used by Indian Railways. Indian broad gauge Euro 1676 mm Euro is the most widely used gauge in India with 105,000 km of track length and 56,000 km of route kilometre. In some regions with less traffic, the metre gauge is common, although the UNI gauge project is in progress to convert all tracks to broad gauge. The metre gauge has about 8,000 km of track length and 7,000 km of route kilometre. The narrow gauges are present on a few routes, lying in hilly terrains and in some erstwhile private railways, which are usually difficult to convert to broad gauge. Narrow gauges have 2,000 route kilometre. The Kalka-Shimla Railway, the Kangra Valley Railway and the Darjeeling Himalayan Railway are 3 notable hill lines that use narrow gauge, but the Nilgiri Mountain Railway is a metre gauge track. These 4 rail lines will not be converted under the UNI gauge project. The share of broad gauge in the total route kilometre has been steadily rising, increasing from 47% in 1951 to 86% in 2012, whereas the share of metre gauge has declined from 45% to 10% in the same period, and the share of narrow gauges has decreased from 8% to 3%. About 21,500 route km of Indian Railways is electrified. Sleepers are made up of pre-stressed concrete, or steel or cast iron posts, though teak sleepers are still in use on a few older lines. The pre-stressed concrete sleeper is in wide use today. Metal sleepers were extensively used before the advent of concrete sleepers. Indian Railways divides the country into 4 zones on the basis of the range of track temperature. The greatest temperature variations occur in Rajasthan. Research and development. In August 2013, Indian Railways entered into a partnership with Indian Institute of Technology to develop technology to tap solar energy for lighting and air conditioning in the coaches. This would significantly reduce the fossil fuel dependency for Indian Railways. Recently it ingeniously developed and tested the improved automated fire alarm system in Rajdhani Express trains. This system would now be applied to AC coaches of all regular trains. Railway links to adjacent countries. Existing rail links: Nepal a Euro break of gauge a Euro gauge conversion under Uni gauge project, Pakistan a Euro same broad gauge. Thar Express to Karachi and the more famous Samjhauta Express international train from Lahore, Pakistan to Amritsar. Bangladesh a Euro same broad gauge. The Maitri Express between Dhaka and Kolkata started in April 2008 using the Jeddah-Zana route, in addition to a freight train service from Singhabad and Petropole in India to Rohanpur and Benapole in Bangladesh. A second passenger link between Agartala, India and Akhora Upazila, Bangladesh was approved by the Government of Bangladesh and India in September 2011. Under construction/proposed links: Bhutan a Euro Railways under construction a Euro same gauge, Myanmar a Euro Manipur to Myanmar, Vietnam a Euro. On April 9, 2010, former Union Minister of India, Shashi Tharoor announced that the central government is considering a rail link from Manipur to Vietnam via Myanmar. Thailand a Euro possible if Burma Railway is rebuilt. Types of passenger services: trains are classified by their average speed. A faster train has fewer stops than a slower one and usually caters to long-distance travel. Accommodation classes. Indian Railways has several classes of travel with or without air conditioning. A train may have just one or many classes of travel. Slow passenger trains have only unreserved seating class, whereas Rajdhani, Duronto, Shatabdi, Garib Rath and Yuva trains have only air-conditioned classes. The fares for all classes are different, with unreserved seating class being the cheapest. The fare of Rajdhani, Duronto and Shatabdi trains includes food served in the train, but the fare for other trains does not include food that has to be bought separately. In long-distance trains a pantry car is usually included and food is served at the berth or seat itself. Luxury trains such as Palace on Wheels have separate dining cars, but these trains cost as much as or more than a 5-star hotel room. A standard passenger rate generally has 4 unreserved compartments, 2 at the front and 2 at the end, of which one may be exclusively for ladies. The exact number of other coaches varies according to the demand and the route. A luggage compartment can also exist at the front or the back. In some mail trains a separate mail coach is attached. Lavatories are communal and feature both the Indian style as well as the Western style. The following table lists the classes in operation. A train may not have all these classes. At the rear of the train is a special compartment known as the guard's cabin. It is fitted with a transceiver and is where the guard usually gives the all-clear signal before the train departs. UNESCO World Heritage Sites. There are 2 UNESCO World Heritage Sites on Indian Railways, the Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus and the Mountain Railways of India. The latter consists of 3 separate railway lines located in different parts of India. Darjeeling Himalayan Railway, a narrow-gauge railway in West Bengal. Nilgiri Mountain Railway, a 1,000-metre gauge railway in the Nilgiri Hills in Tamil Nadu. Kalka Shimla Railway, a narrow-gauge railway in the Shivalik Mountains in Himachal Pradesh. In 2003 the railway was featured in the Guinness Book of World Records for offering the steepest rise in altitude in the space of 96 km. Notable trains, tourist trains. Palace on Wheels is a specially designed luxury tourist train service, frequently hauled by a steam locomotive, for promoting tourism in Rajasthan. The train has a 7 nights and 8 days itinerary. It departs from New Delhi, and covers Jaipur, Sawai Madhopur and Chittorgarh, Udaipur, Jaisalmer, Jodhpur, Bharatpur and Agra, return to Delhi. Royal Rajasthan on Wheels, a luxury tourist train service, covers various tourist destinations in Rajasthan. The train takes tourists on a 7-day/8-night tour through Rajasthan. The train starts from New Delhi's Safdarjung railway station, and has stops at Jodhpur, Udaipur and Chittorgarh, Ranthambore National Park and Jaipur, Khajuraho, Varanasi and Sarnath, Agra and back to Delhi. Maharaja Express, a luxury train operated by IRCTC, runs on 5 circuits covering more than 12 destinations across northwest and central India, mainly centered around Rajasthan between the months of October to April. Deccan Odyssey luxury tourist train service covers various tourist destinations in Maharashtra and Goa. The 7 nights/8 days tour starts from Mumbai and covers Jaigarh Fort, Ganapatipul and Ratnagiri, Sindhudurg, Tarkali and Sawantwadi, Goa, Kolhapur and Pune, Aurangabad and Ellora Caves, Ajanta Caves and Nashik, and back to Mumbai. The Golden Chariot luxury train runs on 2 circuits, Pride of the South and Splendor of the South. Mahaparinirvan Express, an AC train service also known as Buddhist circuit train, which is run by IRCTC to attract Buddhist pilgrims. The 7 nights/8 days tour starts from New Delhi and covers Bodh Gaya, Rajgir and Nalanda, Varanasi and Sarnath, Kushinagar and Lumbini, Srivasti, Taj Mahal before returning to New Delhi on other trains. Samhoota Express is a train that runs between India and Pakistan. However, hostilities between the 2 nations in 2001 saw the line being closed. It was reopened when the hostilities subsided in 2004. Another train connecting Kakrapa and Munibay is the Thar Express that restarted operations on February 18, 2006. It was earlier closed down after the 1965 Indo-Pak War. Lifeline Express is a special train popularly known as the Hospital on Wheels, which provides healthcare to the rural areas. This train has a carriage that serves as an operating room, a second one which serves as a storeroom and an additional 2 that serve as a patient ward. The train travels around the country, staying at a location for about 2 months before moving elsewhere. Fairy Queen is the oldest operating locomotive in the world today, though it is operated only for specials between Delhi and Alwar. John Bull, a locomotive older than Fairy Queen, operated in 1981 commemorating its 150th anniversary. Gorakhpur railway station also has the distinction of being the world's longest railway platform at 4,483 ft. The station along the Darjeeling toy train routes is the second highest railway station in the world to be reached by a steam locomotive. The Mumbai European Deccan Queen has the oldest running dining car in IR. Vivek Express, between Dibrugarh and Kanyakumari, has the longest run in terms of distance and time on Indian Railways network. It covers 4,286 km in about 82 hours and 30 minutes. Bhopal Shatabdi Express is the fastest train in India today, having a maximum speed of 150 km/h on the Faridabad-Agra section. The fastest speed attained by any train is 184 km/h in 2000 during test runs. Double-decker AC trains have been introduced in India. The first double-decker train was Pune-Mumbai-Sinhagad Express plying between Pune and Mumbai, while the first double-decker AC train in the Indian Railways was introduced in November 2010, running between the Dhanbad and Howrah stations, having 10 coaches and 2 power cars. On April 16, 2013, Indian Railways celebrated its 160 years of nationwide connectivity with a transportation of 23 million passengers in a day. Problems and issues. The personnel costs and operating costs have increased several times over the past decade. Fares have been hiked both in 2011 and 2013, offsetting a good percentage of the loss. The maintenance of passenger coaches and goods wagons is poor and often results in derailments and other accidents. The sanitation in trains and stations is improving. Trains like Duronto Rajdhani and some express trains such as Hyderabad to Bangalore Kacheguda Express have on-board janitors, whose job it is to clean to compartment and washrooms on a regular basis. Further, mobile numbers of supervisors are provided on the train for any complaints. New railway line projects are often announced without securing additional funding for them. A large number of these projects are not profitable and do not get completed within the scheduled time. As on March 31, 2011, 347 projects including new lines, doubling and gauge conversion were pending and their costs have increased to £1472 billion. However, the railway budget for 2012 €13 provided only £130 billion for the projects. See also: High-speed rail in India, for the currently planned Diamond Quadrilateral High-Speed Rail Project, Kolkata Metro Railway. List of railway stations in India, List of named passenger trains of India, List of longest train services in India, List of countries by rail transport network size, All India Station Masters Association, Bilaspur Mandili Railway, Northeast Frontier Railway Zone, References. Notes, Aguya, Marian. Tracking Modernity, India's Railway and the Culture of Mobility, Bear, Laura. Lines of the Nation. Indian Railway Workers, Bureaucracy, and the Intimate Historical Self. 360 pp. ISBN 978-0-231-14002-7. Tiwari, Ramsarukdi Railways in Modern India. Excerpt and text search, V. M. Govind Krishnan NMR From Lifeline to Oblivion, external links. Ministry of Indian Railways, official website, Indian Railways Live Information, official website.